Hi, everyone slash Andrew. This is my quick little video response to your video that I just finally got to watch. And this is about politics, and it's actually kind of nice because I've been meaning to make a video about sort of my own political viewpoints on a number of issues and whatnot, so this will also be for that. Anyway, you were asking about the difference between Republicans and Democrats. And really, there are some finite differences, but for the most part, the lines are so blurred these days that it can be hard to call someone a Democrat or Republican on certain issues. But then again, on other issues, the lines are clear. For instance, you had it mostly right, I think. Republicans are in favor of having guns. Democrats want more gun control. Republicans favor big business, like the auto companies and the pharmaceutical companies, whereas the Democrats tend to support small businesses and privatization of businesses. Also, to me, the social lines are where the biggest blurs come in. So Republicans are generally conservative in both fiscal matters and social matters, and Democrats are more liberal. That's generally how it goes, but there's Democrats that will be conservative on social issues such as abortion and gay issues and all kinds of things like that. I hope that answers your question a little bit. We can always discuss it more if you want. So the other thing I was going to talk about was sort of my political viewpoints, and so I was just going to go through a few key issues, or what I think are key issues. The first is education. My views on education are, well, I do want to be a teacher of some sort later on when I finish my PhD, so I pay somewhat decent attention to educational issues, but I'm not that well versed in them, unfortunately. Right now there's a big hullabaloo about student loans and how the universities are too ingrained within the companies that provide the student loans, and there's a big scandal going on at a number of universities here in the United States, and I think that the government needs to really look at education as a priority more so than it has in the past. Unfortunately, with the quote-unquote war in Iraq that the Bush administration is so much of a proponent for, issues like education and funding for education gets kind of pushed to the back, and that's really sad because we see other countries outcompeting us in that aspect, and if we want to continue to be the top country in the world, then that's one thing that we need to work on. The other thing under education is No Child Left Behind, which is the worst law ever written. If you don't know anything about it, look it up. I don't have time to really go into all the details about it right now, but basically I think that it's complete crap and it doesn't work how it's intended to. And I always sort of compared it to communism, because if you've ever read the Communist Manifesto, you know that communism is an excellent theory, but it cannot, in principle, be carried out. And No Child Left Behind has really good theory behind it, has really good points, but it's ineffective in terms of carrying it out. And so something needs to be changed and to make that sort of idea work better. Another key, so most of the issues I'll talk about are social issues. The other key social issue is abortion. I am pro-choice, and I also think that the conservatives and Republicans and church people even tend to go a little too far in terms of defining what they believe is alive. And I'm just strictly doing this from I have a scientist, so I have come from a scientific background, and sometimes I disagree with my version of what is alive is different than a lot of people's version of what is alive, because whereas a lot of people will consider a fertilized egg alive, to me, that's not alive until probably the third trimester or later, or even really until it's born and self-sufficient. Other than that, the embryo is basically a parasite at the beginning of its life. Anyway, I've gotten into lots of arguments about things like this with friends of mine, and I don't intend to go on right now with that. And the other issue I wanted to say my viewpoints on is gay marriage, and I think gay marriage is sort of taking the spotlight away from other important issues, like the Federal Non-Discrimination Act, which has been floundering in Congress since, gosh, the middle 90s, and still hasn't passed, and hopefully now it'll be brought back up with the Democratic Congress in power, and we'll get it passed, if not now, with the next president, who will hopefully be Democratic and more in tune to doing something like that. And also gay adoption rights. I want to have kids someday, and I don't know if I'm going to have natural children or if I'll adopt children, but adoption rights is something that also isn't talked about enough. And I can make individual videos on going into these things, and maybe one day I will. But with gay marriage, I think that, to me, I want to be partnered with someone. I wouldn't necessarily call it marriage. I would like the same legal benefits as a marriage, but I'm all for civil unions. I'm all for domestic partnerships. Whatever compromise can currently be reached is better than anything. And I think that marriage, going for gay marriage is fighting too much with the church, because marriage is a church word. Marriage is a word. It doesn't mean shit. And people get all, oh, we need gay marriage, we need gay marriage, but really what we need are the legal benefits that come with a union which is deemed a marriage or called marriage due to basically historic religious roots. So I don't care what they call it. I want the same benefits as everyone else. Anyway, that's my little soapbox on that, and so that's enough. I hope you can make sense of my ramblings, and I hope that people leave me lots of comments, and I'd be really interested in getting into little mini debates with people about some things, because that really fosters good thoughts between different people and things like that. So with that said, subscribe to me, watch Kiwi's videos, and I hope to hear from some of you.